So I'm just going to lead us in a little bit of what we might call nutritional movement. And what I decided to do, we can all thank Luann, who I think is here today, the other day, for insisting that I do this. Dr. Kogan will often suggest that it's really good for us to get moving first thing in the morning and for us to get the sunlight specifically earlier in the morning. And over the course of the pandemic, I started to do that, and I started to play with a walking stick. So we're going to do a little bit of exercise today and I'll show you what I have. This is a stick that I illegally took out of a park, and I won't mention which one it was. You can do this as well with a broom or a mop. And you can also do this if you've got like a long tie or an elastic band, that will also work. So I decided to start doing this because I have all kinds of joint issues, and this for me was a really wonderful way of playing with movement in a different way. So feel free to go and grab something that you could use. Again, like a broom or a mop is perfect. I'm going to give people just a minute. Oh, good. Luann has something. Luann is like showing off that she has something, which I love. Awesome. I see Jennifer has something that she can use. Ellen has, oh yeah, that's perfect. One of those mops is good. Maybe something that's nice and long. And we're gonna kind of end with a little bit of breath work, but we'll just start right away with a little bit of movement. And so what I'll invite you to do is you can use your stick as a stability. So I'm just going to use it the way that I would do downward facing dog. So I'm just putting the stick on the ground or the mop on the ground. In your PT office, they have really fancy like dowels, they're called, but you could really use anything. And I'm just going to give myself a little stretch here. I'm just walking back. My knees can be super bad. In fact, I could bend one leg and then the other. I've got a yoga mat here. You might have like a piece of carpeting. And while I'm doing this, I'm just beginning to take some deep breaths. By the way, if you don't have a stick, but you have a piece of furniture, like a bookshelf, then feel free to do that today, or a back of a chair. And honestly, what I always tell my yoga students is the most important thing that we can do for the nervous system, and the nervous system plays a role with the immune system as well, is just to take some deep breaths. So if nothing else, just breathing here with me. And then I'm going to come to a stand. I'm just standing up. I'm going to take, maybe you have a strap. I'm just going to go nice and wide, and I'm just going to get myself used to bringing that stick up and down. So we're just going to do this a few times. You can do this with your breath if you want. You could go nice and slow. And really just checking out all of our ranges of motion are slightly different. And for some of us, especially if your stick is about 5 feet wide and you go nice and wide, you might be able to take the stick back down. And then for sure, we can do this with the breath, inhaling as we come up, exhaling as we come down. I'm just kind of going. It's so much fun to see you guys doing this. This makes me happy. Right, and I'm not trying to like become like the Rocky Horror guy with no neck, if anyone is old enough to remember that. I'm really trying to be gentle with my shoulders, keeping the shoulders away from the ears. Good. And then I'm just gonna, just for fun, I'm gonna keep that stick back behind me, and I'm gonna change how I'm holding it. So now I've got an underhanded grip, right? My palms are facing forward. I'm gonna go wide again. The stick is about at my sacrum, so below the belt line. And I'm just gonna take it up, just no pain, no pain. And I'm gonna come down. And again, I could do that with my breath. This is also really good for anti-schlumpasana. And because I am doing this, I am seeing some chats, and I'm assuming that they might be for Dr. Sahar. But if you've got a question, just feel free to unmute yourself, or someone can read it, because it's too hard to multitask. Good. And you might feel like your shoulder blades here are just gently squeezing together. That's awesome. All right. And then I'm just going to take that stick, couple of different choices. You could just hang on like this. You could take it back behind you if you really like that sense of stretch, or take it over your head. And we're just going to do really simple, right? So lots of different possibilities. My feet are about, I don't know, the distance of my outer hips. And I'm not trying to go super fast. That's like a whole nother thing. I'm just going nice and slow. If this makes you dizzy, just look ahead. And I'm just enjoying a little bit of movement here. And again, I'm doing this in my room because the sound, I live in Columbia Heights. It's kind of annoying to be on Zoom in my little backyard, but I would often do this in the morning in the backyard. Good. And then we're just going to take this stick, and again, you could hang out like this or like this. And I'm just going to bend from side to side. And if you prefer to stay still, then do that. Could just have some fun there. I'm just going to go a little bit from side to side. At the same time, I'm noticing, God, I was clenching my jaw. Does anyone else do that? So I just opened up my mouth and moved it around. One day I'm going to be as cool as Sage, who comes here and films outdoors. Oh, it's so nice to see you guys doing this. All right. And just kind of notice, just take a moment here, feel what you're feeling in your body. Just sort of notice, yeah, there might even be some shaking that you want to do. And then we're gonna keep kind of playing with this. So I'm gonna start to draw big circles. And the way that this is it doesn't really matter which way you go, but I've got one hand in my back pocket and one hand above my head, other hand in my back pocket, other hand above my head. And I'm just gonna do these circles. Do these as slowly as you like. I mean, eventually you'll want to have fun like cheerleaders and do all sorts of fun stuff, right? But we're really working on maintaining a healthy mobility in the body, which is, again, why literally some movement practitioners call this nutritious movement. And this for me is really the antidote to Zoom meetings. Good. And then let's just take it in the opposite direction. So hands in pocket, hand by head. And of course, like, you know, you might be doing much smaller movements as well. So do whatever works better with your body. Nice. Awesome. And we could once again, maybe this time with the hands in front or with the hands in the back, just take a couple of those rotations from side to side. This is actually good for the eyes as well. Aldous Huxley did eye exercises, which included swinging from side to side. He was practically blind and was afraid it would ruin his writing career. But if it makes you dizzy, don't do it. Okay, and then let's just a couple of more things. We're going to use the stick again as a balance. And we're going to come back into some sort of lunge. So I'll just use my right foot in front. I'm going to step my left foot back. I could have my left foot, I don't know if you guys can see my feet. I could have my left foot flat on the ground, like warrior one, for those of you that have done yoga, or I could have the heel up off the ground. I'm using the stick for stability, but I'm also kind of making sure that I'm not doing the Elvis, right? So if I tend to put a lot of pressure onto the inner knee, I could also keep the stick just there right by the inner knee or in front. And then maybe I'm going to take the opposite arm up. You could lower that arm. So we could inhale when we raise that left arm up, exhale when we take it down. Just do that as that feels good to you. And a little extra credit. So either keep doing that, or if your balance feels okay, take a side bend to the right and notice how that really activates through the hip flexor. Good. And then let's just come back and we'll take the other side. So again, just stepping the opposite foot back. Your right foot now could be flat on the ground, or you could have the heel lifting up. That's just a matter of personal preference. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling. Good. Just letting it go. Maybe everybody will do one more of these together. I'm looking up because that really helps me open up through my chest. And then only if you want, either keep doing this or go ahead and take a side bend towards the left. Getting into now that right hip flexor. Good. And then we'll come to standing. Okay, one more kind of fun balancing thing. Again, you could use a chair. So if you don't have a stick, that's fine. But or a mop, that's also fine. Mine is kind of a little sideways. So I'm just gonna have both of my hands on the stick. And I'm just going to lift up through one leg. In this case, I'm just lifting up through my right. And I'm just taking it down. So I'm trying to keep the rest of my body pretty straight. I'm really working on the lateral hips, which, by the way, if you're like me and you have low back pain, a lot of times these need to be strengthened. And I could just keep doing that. Or I could begin to, and I could move the stick a little bit to give me a little bit more stability. I could begin to come into more of a balance pose here. I could have both hands on the stick. I could drop one or raise one. I could play a little bit with different movements. Maybe coming into a more traditional tree, right? Yoga pose. And then I'm just going to stop for right now. But you could have a lot of fun if you're working on your balance. I think balance is one of the most important things to do. And then we're just going to go to the other side. So I'm just going to go ahead, both hands on the stick, just getting a little bit of work for now that left hip. I could stay right here, or I could start to play with tipping myself as far over as feels okay. I could have both hands firmly on the stick, or I could begin to challenge myself a little bit in a little bit of a different way. Good. And then I'm just going to come on out of this. I'm just going to notice how I'm feeling. We could close our eyes. Good. As you get really good at this, there's fun things you could do. I think the thing that I was doing that Luann liked was starting to play with twirling the stick. And that's literally, for me, this is wonderful for wrist rotation as well as shoulder. And you can start to also play with walking while you're doing it forward and back. So there might be some former cheerleaders on the phone, on the Zoom call. Yeah, if you get used to going in one direction, maybe play with taking it in the other. There's nothing like doing this outside. Awesome. I'm seeing all these twirling screens. I'm like, I'm enamored of everybody here. Okay. Let's just pause here. Come back to your seat because I'm just looking at the time. And I want to leave a couple of minutes after if there's any question. Okay, so from here, just go ahead, everybody. Find a comfortable seat. Maybe your feet are on the ground, so you might be scooching a little bit more forward. I'm really hoping that you could feel some energy moving, some circulation. Yeah, how are people feel? Notice your shoulders. So maybe close your eyes if that's comfortable. If it's not comfortable, just don't look at the screen. Just sort of have a soft gaze somewhere, maybe outside. Connect with your breath, if you will. That breath which really brings in a sense of inspiration, a sense of wonder. And the exhalation, which really allows us to detox, to let go, to learn to be like the trees in this beautiful season of fall. With every inhale, feeling our life a little bit more vital. And with every exhale, feeling our capacity to relax. And it is in this relaxation that we renew. Good. Let's just take one more inhale here. On your exhale, I want to invite everyone just to gently drop your chin towards your chest, just so that if your eyes were closed, you can flutter them open. Take a minute and just look around your room. Notice the colors, the play of light and shadow. There might be an object that reminds you of someone you love or a photo. Good. And then as you're ready, let's all just come back into the Zoom room. I am going to remove the spotlight so that you could see each other's faces, even if it's a photo screensaver. What a beautiful community that you all have created here. Thank you so much, everybody. Yeah. Yeah, movement saves me too. Thanks, Jennifer. Thanks, Monica.